It's just very important, if you want to have a well-rounded team, you got to have a 2v2 team in there. That's just kind of how the Brood War scene was, and, with the EG Masters Cup, favoring 2v2s as well, there's just a lot of value in it, so... Either way, it looks like we're ready to go, and the countdown has begun. Game number 2 here between Last Second Alliance and Happy Face.
Happy Face. Let me go ahead and put that in chat so you guys can all get a visual of what exactly we mean when we say Happy Face. And this is the name of their team. We didn't really have any restrictions as far as your team naming. So this is what they chose, and there it is, a Happy Face.
Nice little emoticon. I like that one. These days we've got more fancy ones, but either way, it looks like the Last Second Alliance is spawning in the eastern side of the map. We've got coLCatZ spawning as the yellow Zerg in the northern position, and then his ally here, Fnatic Rain, spawning in the southernmost position. And then on the other side of the map, we've got engulfSAGA spawning as the red Zerg in the western position, and VzO, who is actually not sending out a probe very, very early on, spawning as the pink Protoss. I thought that probe was actually going to proxy. I really did.
Well, it is moving out, and now this isn't too uncommon. Maybe get an early scout off, but we might see some shenanigans. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's really important just to scout early so you can see when the Zerg's pool goes down. coLCatZ did just do the double extractor trick, I believe, there, so he's going to be going for... Actually, it's just an 11 pool, but... very typical stuff. Meanwhile, Rain actually going gas first, which is another very nice thing to scout. Basically means he's going Hellions.
Yep.
So I think we'll see that Hellion Speedling composition, and this is where things get hard for a team with a Protoss player when you don't have shared bases. The Protoss player gets like one Stalker and one Zealot, and that's like it. And then the Zerg player's like, I'm trying to 2v1 here, can you do something? And the Protoss player's like, no, I can't really do anything for a little while, man.
Yeah, and just... Even if you just do a double-pronged attack as coLCatZ and Rain, Hellions one way, Zerglings the other, a lot of times Zerglings, they're extremely cost-effective early game. They take out Stalkers, they're okay against Zealots in low numbers, and it's really difficult for Protoss to get something early on to deal with them. While as Terran you have Hellions for Zerglings, as Zerg you have Banelings for Zerglings. Protoss, maybe Force Fields? I don't know, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, it's really challenging because you just, where do you force field? You don't have enough sentries to put the force fields every place you want them, and of course with the Zerg ally, you can't do anything like walling off between these two ramps. Sometimes you see that, but that's like if you're Terran against two Zerg or something,
yeah.
It just doesn't really make too much sense.
So the speed is going down for coLCatZ, speed starting a little bit later for Saga. And a coLCatZ with that 11 pool with a pretty early gas here. Queen now popping out, throwing down that inject, and lots of workers just running around the map trying to see what's going on. Get a beat on their opponents here. Looks like Rain is throwing down that reactor and factory as we expected. He'll more than likely be swapping those two. Pump out a couple of Hellions, and do you think he'll be waiting for more than 2 Hellions, or do you think they're going to move out with 2 Hellions and a lot of Lings, or what do you think their next step is?
Yeah, I could definitely see them. It depends how it lines up with speed. It looks like as speed finishes, that's when the first 2 Hellions will pop, and that should be a pretty nice timing here. And also, I gotta mention that Engulf actually canceled his Ling speed and threw down a Roach Warren, so he is calling a bit of an audible here. And I think that's not a bad choice.
I agree, yep.
But it's going to be hard. You just have to not get overwhelmed. And actually, Rain is going to go ahead and throw down a Starport as well, so very possible he'll be looking to do some kind of Banshee follow-up. And wow, we also have a Twilight Council coming down from VzO, and I think maybe that will be for DTs. That might make more sense. But he's also only making Stalkers right now, so it could also be that Blink.
Yep, and that Roach Warren is in direct response to those Hellions. He saw the factory switching onto the reactor. He canceled his speed. He knows Zerglings just aren't going to be that useful this game. I gotta go with the Roaches, and here we are with an engagement. Those Roaches are helping out, but there just might not be enough Lings to soak up the damage. He needed to get those on the ramp to block them. coLCatZ now infiltrating Saga's base. He's trying to throw down the spine, but there are Hellions reinforcing. This is not looking good at all. He's only got 2 Stalkers from his ally to help. And only 4 Roaches now.
And you know what? Rain is actually following this up with Cloak. Just a very nice build from Rain here, because there's not going to be any Lair Tech, I'll tell you that much. There's not going to be any Robo Tech, and I don't really see how coLCatZ and Rain can really lose, because I mean, it's going to be Blink Stalkers and Roaches, and that's just... It's not really going to work, I don't think.
Yeah, and if you gather one thing from 2v2s, it's that Zerg do not get very many drones. If we check out the Harvester count, it's 14 for each Zerg player and 23 for the Terran and Protoss players. So that larva is just so darn important. You do not have the larva to make drones and lings, and that's why you're seeing such a low drone count. It's kind of well established that as a Zerg player, you're going to be making more units, and hopefully your opponent or your ally will be the one, you know, getting the macro, getting the bulk of the force in the mid to late game.
First Banshee about to pop out. He's actually just got to rally to his choke point for now, but it's going to be finishing, and then Cloak will finish so close. And meanwhile, actually, Saga is expanding here, but once again, zero detection. Just absolutely none. We actually have an Evo chamber coming down now, though, but he's down to 12 drones. He's just making buildings, but not making more drones. And when you do that, you just kind of slowly run out of drones. It's like, why expand? Ooh, the Banshee actually
gets picked off. Banshee going down. Didn't have time to cloak. Didn't react in time for that. And yeah, I think we're seeing a little bit of the inexperience in this VzO engulfSAGA team. With that 12 harvester count, he's kind of neglecting the drones and just getting a lot of buildings. Maybe he is aware of that because they are moving out. Katz, meanwhile, running into Saga's base. He just needs to take down the 2 queens on the spine. The Hellions coming in as well. But VzO and Saga going with a pretty deadly push here. Katz has absolutely nothing. He's trying to throw down some spines. He actually cancels them. And Saga is going down, but at the same time, I think Katz will too. This is going to be a nail-biter here.
Yeah, I think that's a good choice from Katz. I mean, those spines aren't going to finish, so just keep that money and rely on the Cloak Banshee to come back here. They are going to completely cripple Saga, and, you know, it's just going to kind of become a TVP with a bunch of extra units in the mix here. You see Rain getting ready. He's got a bunker up. He's got SCVs waiting here to repair. But these Blink Stalkers might be able to, yeah, they just blink up, and we'll see. Is a Banshee actually out on the field to help defend this? I know one is actually just about to pop here.
There it is, the instant cloak from a Banshee looks like it just got to the battle. Another one popping out. He needs to cloak that. There we go, and he will be able to defend this eventually because he'll snipe all the Stalkers. The Roaches won't be able to shoot up. But I don't think VzO is really threatened in his base yet, so he can macro up after this attack. And these Roaches doing tons of damage. It's going to be close. This looks like it's going to end up being one base against one base if Rain can eventually clean up these Roaches.
Yeah, Kat's doing a great job there microing, making sure to focus the Stalkers so that these Banshees take as little damage as possible. And yeah, it looks like they're definitely going to clean this up, and it's just kind of going to be a matter of looking at the supplies after all these Roaches die and seeing who is really ahead right now. There is only actually 12 SCVs against 26 probes. But he's got no detection. He's actually just about to finish a robotics, so he should be safe from that counterattack. And this is a very bizarre situation. Do you think Katz is just going to build a new hatchery and try and get back in this? Saga actually still has one.
It looks like Katz did send his money to Rain. If we check out the resources, Katz at 10 minerals, 8 gas. And Saga Rain looking to finish off Red Saga. But there are a lot of Stalkers out. I don't see any Observers. He does have an Observatory. Here comes the first Observer. And he does have Blink Stalkers, by the way. So these Banshees probably not going to do a whole lot. Saga going to try to protect his ally, but it looks like every single drone is going down. Here come the Stalkers, but just a bit too late. Saga only sitting on 89 minerals, so we kind of have a one-on-one going here. Katz with a couple Overlords, couple drones for some scouting, I suppose, but that's about it. The supply count is 1 and 4 compared to the 54 and 41 of each of their allies.
Meanwhile, this Banshee has actually gotten 11 kills. Of course, some of those from the Roaches. He's forcing all these probes off mining temporarily, and he's got 17 SCVs against 23 probes. And now, of course, the wild card of Engulf is also here. He's got one drone up and mining, and Katz is actually re-expanding. So, wow, this is just so bizarre. And the other interesting point, of course, to talk about is that, of course, Rain is a Korean former Code S player, like one of the best in the world. So his economy is behind right now, but can he just out macro his opponents here?
Yeah, and I'm kind of surprised by the decision for Rain to send Katz 300 minerals to rebuild that hatchery, because I mean he could do a lot with that 300 minerals. He could even just expand himself and already have a nice SCV count, or an okay SCV count, another orbital command, and just, go off 2 bases, instead of just being on 1 base, and coLCatZ slowly rebuilding with 3 drones. So maybe it just has to do with APMs. Maybe Rain figures, coLCatZ is another player, he can manage his own base, and 2 players managing 1 base each is better than 1 player managing 2 base. I don't know, maybe he's just a nice guy and really likes coLCatZ.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, if it was a matter of APM, he could just give his control to coLCatZ and then say, okay, coLCatZ, take these units, use the medevac, and do what you can. Of course, dropping against Blink Stalkers is always a bit of a risky game. But as you were saying, man, coming back from 3 drones, it's like you start the game with 6 drones and it takes a while to get going. When you have 3, it's even longer.
The Banshee poking in, killing 5 more probes, it looks like. Around 5, he might have had a few more before he went in, and there's the slow mining from coLCatZ. Those mineral patches still over 1,000 minerals on each of them, while Rain, some of them getting pretty small, a couple of them at 235 or so. Now, I'd like to see maybe a little bit of pressure from VzO. He's not really risking too much because those Stalkers do have Blink. They can get away if they need to. The only reason maybe he's not comfortable moving out is because of those Banshees just kind of being pesky in the mineral lines. But if you look, he does have 2 Stalkers for that, so we'll see if he can accomplish anything with these. But that's a lot of Marauders with Stim, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he should be able to blink away without taking many losses, maybe losing at most 1 Stalker if he's on the ball. But, there's nothing wrong with poking in there. Nonetheless, he sees everything with the Observer, so he really knows exactly what he's up against. You can see he's actually starting off an Immortal. This might get a little bit tricky because, of course, he did completely wall himself in, so he's going to have to take out... Actually, he is going to go ahead and kill his own gateway now to open up his base. And look at this, Rain actually getting a Raven out. I think that's it's a brilliant choice. PDD going to be very good, and, of course, he's probably seen the little squiggle of the Observers moving around on the map.
Yep, PDD absorbing 20 shots from those Stalkers, even more as the energy regenerates. If you think of those as Marauder hits, that's 20 times 14 damage absorbed. And so that's going to be really effective, and that's just with 1 PDD. When that Raven is out for quite a while, he'll have enough for 2 PDDs, and that's really going to, he's already got a nice Marauder force for those Stalkers, but that's going to make it even more lopsided.
Yeah, it's a really interesting situation. I don't think either team really wants to attack, and this is the kind of position, it's like, we are sitting here casting this game, it's like, who's actually ahead? Well, we're not sure, so they're kind of probably even more in the dark, coLCatZ has rebuilt his base, the Observer has seen that, so they're like, okay, he's back in this, but he's still got a pretty terrible economy. Meanwhile, also this Banshee trying to harass the Zerg player a bit now. Saga, I think they're about even, actually. Saga's up there at 17 drones against just 12 from coLCatZ.
Yeah, and the hard thing about building back in 2v2s is you can't really be sneaky while you do it, because it alerts your opponents that you have started another hatchery. So not only has the Observer seen it, but the game tells them that coLCatZ is trying to rebuild. There's not a lot they can do about it right now, and actually coLCatZ, making good use of those Zerglings. He actually picked off a couple of probes. It's now 14 probes with the combined harassment of the Banshees, of the Zerglings, and VzO really struggling to split his forces to effectively deal with this harassment, and this might give coLCatZ and Rain the edge.
Yeah, he just took 2 Lings and got into Engulf's mineral line and killed 1 drone and, saw the pool timing, so he kind of, knows what's up, and it's like, well, he could have made 1 drone with that instead of killing 1 drone, but just kind of annoying, and it looks like these guys are going to be moving out now. That Raven does have 100 energy for a PDD, and this just might be too much, but that Immortal is in the mix, a couple of Zealots too, and some Sentries are finally joining up, so this is definitely going to be a pivotal battle right here.
Yep, those Sentries just don't have enough energy. You really want to cut off those Marauders, but he's only got 2 Force Fields. He's better off using Guardian Shields. 2 Force Fields going down. Down goes the PDD. This is not going to be good for VzO. He's not really even attacking. He does snipe that Raven, but after the energy had already been used, he's trying to blink back, but some Stim Micro from Rain is just too much. Marauders, the hard counter for Stalkers, and the GG from VzO and Saga.